Hello, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Recovery with Dr. Nolan, brought to you by the Bober Academy. And of course, I am Chris Bober, your host, 8 years in the NFL, played every offensive line position. And I have the mission at the Bober Academy to train and develop superior linemen to dominate on the gridiron. And one of those things we'd like to do is we'd like to help educate you and give you as many tools as possible to make you a better football player, but also keep you healthy. And that's what this series with Dr. Nolan has been. We're kind of featuring it during this high school football season. A quick reminder, if you're listening to this on any podcast device, just click the subscribe button, and that way you get notified of all of our new episodes between this and Linemen of the Week, and then we will add some more in the off season. Of course, on any social media channel, I'm at Bober Academy, or go to boberacademy.com. And you're watching this on YouTube, this video, click the subscribe button down there and the notification bell to help us out. Let's get our subscribers up there and keep getting the message out. So, Dr. Nolan, thanks first of all, thanks for joining us today. Earlier in the year, we talked about some exercises, mobility, and things for hips. And, the way I thought about it, because you said, okay, let's go back to the hips. Let's revisit the hips. Yep. And, we're in these players that are out there are probably in a different kind of mindset and body condition than they were when we started the season, right? The rigors of football, especially for linemen, you're so much in a football position with your hips low that it just gets tough. And so today's going to probably focus a little more on recovery. And of course, we're going to do a lot of other good things, but taking into account the fact that these guys have played probably 9 or 10 games, we're going to say, here's a couple things that you can do to get those hips loosened up and get you ready for the next game.
Yep. So like Chris said, we're revisiting the hips. The hips were the second thing that we did in this series, right? And the reason it was the second thing was because the first thing was a full body deal. But I think hips are probably the most valuable thing, especially for linemen, is because we got to get our pads low. And we don't just get our pads low by bending over at the waist. We got to get our hips down, bend the knees, and we got to protect our lower legs and be able to use the hips. So that's why we're going to dive into the hips again. In the past, that we've been talking about doing that full body routine, kind of as a guide to where we need to focus in on. I'm going to guess that everybody's hips are a little bit tight this far into the season. So what you would be doing is those hip controlled articular rotations. So you would be doing a motion like this, trying to get the hips to open up a little bit. And so we're doing these rotations, trying to grind out that hip joint. All right. So that's where we would start. Just try to get some mobility back in. And then our foam roller is going to be our best friend for today. We are going to sit on that foam roller, and we're going to prop up one of our legs onto the other knee, and we're going to lean away from our support, or we're going to, that leg that we're stretching, we're going to lean over that, and we're going to roll in that glute area. So we're just going to do big passes right now. So we're going to do like 3 to 5 of those big passes. And then, like we always say, we're going to find a spicy nugget. We're going to kind of roll in that area for a good 10, 20 seconds. So right now I'm sitting on a spicy nugget that's kind of referring pain all the way down into my knee a little bit, right? So we're just going to do 10, 20 seconds. Find another little nugget.
And it's okay if you kind of do that, right? If you feel some like radial pain coming out, then it means you're just kind of getting the blood flow in there to alleviate that.
Yep. And so we talk a lot, like in our office, we do a lot of dry needling. And with dry needling, when we get a needle into a muscle that's a trigger point, it will refer pain to all parts of the body. And that's very common. So then we're going to do the other side. We're going to lean over that, big rolls, find a spicy nugget, just quick 10, 20 seconds, kind of sitting into that spicy nugget, kind of embrace the suck a little bit on these. It's okay. But we're not beating up our tissue. We're just kind of We're getting in there a little bit. Then what we're going to do, nobody really focuses on this part, but we're going to roll the inside part of our leg, right? We just rolled out that outside part of our leg, those big muscles. We also need to roll the inside part of our leg. So we're going to just kind of get into this position where we're lifting the leg, putting that roller. Again, big passes. Just 3 to 5 of those big passes. Find a spicy nugget. And then we're going to do 10 to 20 seconds in that spicy nugget. You can add a little bit of leg kick. If you can see that. But basically moving my leg up. We're just kind of getting in there a little bit. And this is exactly how fast I would go on these foam rolling. So I wouldn't spend any more or any less time. Just getting in there, rolling, getting those.
Okay. You know, and it seems like that interior, that groin area, you're just kind of rolling out there is something that probably most guys don't do, but you know, there's a lot of tightness in there and it just kind of gets ignored.
Yeah. So both those areas, so the outside part and the inside part, both get ignored pretty heavily. The inside part probably more, but people do the exercises where they like bring their legs in together. So they do that a lot, but nobody really foam rolls it. So that's what we want to spend a little bit of time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stretch the front part of our hip. There's all the time our leg is in a bent position because we're seated for long periods of time. We're in stances. We sit at home. We ride in cars. This muscle that's in the front right here, it gets real short and tight. And so we need to lengthen it out and try to get it to stretch out a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to kneel on the side we're stretching, right? Then we're going to scoop up some ice cream with our pelvis. So we're going to try to roll it under just like that. Once we get it rolled in or under, we lock it in there, and then we're just going to glide forward, okay? And we're going to do reps. I don't like static stretching because our muscles don't really sit in static positions for too long a time other than when we're sedentary, sitting in classrooms and things like that. So we are just going to dynamically or just kind of bounce in and out, making sure we still stay scooped under. And you should feel a good stretch right here. And the reason we scoop under is so that we're not just doing this with our back, right? We want to
you're not bouncing really hard into this. You're just kind of trying to push it just a little bit more each rep, right?
Yep. We're just trying to make a little bit of ground with each motion. So we're going to scoop again. We're going to push forward. Scoop and push. Good. Good. Okay. So now that we've gotten those stretched out a little bit, we are going to do some more deep dive into some motions with our hip. So we did the ones where we were in tabletop position and we were doing the rotations, right? So we're going to do that in standing position too. So you can use like a table, the side of a chair, couch, something to just kind of hold on to. Then we're going to take that opposite leg. We're going to bring it up as high as we can. We're going to try to bring it out. We're going to try to take that heel towards the ceiling. Good. Bring it back and around. Okay. Now we're going to kick that leg back as far as we can. Try to bring it up over the hurdle and back through. Okay?
And what does that do? That it seems like it's the same motion that we did when you're on all fours. Tell me about standing up and like not, you know, you're leaning on something, but you're not like putting your whole weight on it. How's this different? What's it doing differently?
So there isn't a whole lot of difference, but the difference that I see is we're able to cheat a lot more when we're doing it in our tabletop position. Yeah. We're just kind of going through the motion, right? When we're standing, we have to balance a little bit more. And if I'm trying to cheat when I'm in the standing position, like by, getting out of here, like you're going to fall over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I like it in the standing position. You guys are all athletes. You need to be able to balance on one leg anyways. So we're going to do this in a standing position. And you're going to kind of wake up and see how much your hips aren't mobile, right? So we're just going up and over that hurdle. Good. And you're going to do that on the other side too. So you go knee as high as you can, bring it out, over. Good. Kick it back, bring it out and around over that hurdle the same way. Okay. So you would do that 3-4 times on each side, just trying to get those hips to mobilize a little bit more. Okay. Now, the last one, we're just going to go into like a little cool down stretch to end it. We did a stretch to start that rotation, but we're going to do a stretch at the end to end it. And this is a very common one. And I kind of said I don't like static stretching, but this is one that I think everybody could use a little bit of. And it's called a pigeon position. So I'm going to get where a little bit. So basically, you're just going to get your knee and your shin. If you can, you try to get it 90 degrees right here. And you're just going to kind of sit down and try to sit your butt cheek to the ground. Good. So we're going to kind of dynamically stretch this one too. We're just going to push into it a little bit, come back up. A nice little pulse. Good. Then you would do it on the other side. So you guys can see it straight on just a little bit. There we go.
And would you say it's important to kind of try to stay in line there and not like really cheat on this? Because I think I can see where you can be kind of leaning way over, but you want to try to keep your spine and everything all in one line, correct?
Yep. Ideally, you want to keep everything underneath you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see people that are doing it like this, right? But I would like to keep it underneath your chest as much as possible. And we're just kind of sitting back, trying to get a good stretch on that glute right there. Okay. Now, if any of those feel like there's real sharp pain, that would be an indication that you should probably get further checked out. Yeah.
I'm only kind of giggling at that because, my career ended with 2 torn labrums in each of my hips, and I was bone on bone. So, I kind of pushed through that pain for a long time, and I ended up having to have surgery. So, yeah, I think that the hips are something that, are so vital. I always say low hips win. And when you start to get stiff and you neglect to do these mobilization and stretching, then all of a sudden you start playing high. That's how it was when my hips were injured.
Right.
I all of a sudden I would go and I couldn't move, so I'd stand up and I just get run over, and the coaches are yelling at me. But they're super important. And I also want to kind of point out in this, number one is this isn't just for linemen, right? I mean, our hips are activated and used for anyone who runs, for anyone who moves, uses their hips. It's their main source of power. If you ever watch someone run the ball, their hips are the primary driving force, in the same way when you're jumping. So the second thing I'll say is you don't have to be an athlete to do these stretches, right? I mean, I'm obviously not an athlete anymore, but these are stretches that I like to learn from you because, at our age, middle 40s, we might have a recovery after, mowing the grass or raking the leaves or anything like that. So this is a helpful stretch for any of those out there for the hips. And a lot of times you'll probably be able to say this is true or not. When you start getting pain in your back and stuff like that, a lot of it comes from the hips.
Right.
Hips are tight and things like that. And then stretching those front muscles are so important because we do sit all day, right? We're professionals. We sit either in a vehicle or at work watching TV, and we're just constantly at 90 degrees instead of straight.
Yeah. And I kind of, it's pretty well known that like once somebody falls and breaks a hip, right, their life deteriorates pretty quickly, right? So if I had one thing that I would work on with every one of my patients, and if that's the only thing I could work on, I would think I would just work on their hips, mobility, just because you need your hips. You got to bend over. You got to sit on a toilet. You got to pick things up off the ground. You got to get in and out of cars. The tighter your hips are, the harder everything else in life becomes. Everybody knows, like, grandparent that broke a hip, or and then their life quickly goes down right after that. So you're correct. Hips are vitally
Yep.
important.
And I think that so many other injuries can come from those too, because then you're out of position, your back's compromised, and all your other joints too. So that's amazing stuff. Once again, Dr. Nolan here at Midwest Movement. Midwest Movement Elkhorn.com is where you can find it, and the link to his website and to his and other videos are going to be wherever you find this podcast or wherever you find this video. We're going to have links in there. He's out in Elkhorn, right by Rick's Meats on 204th Street. So again, last reminder is, if you're watching this on YouTube, click the button down there to subscribe. That would really, really help us. We can be found on social media at Bober Academy. It's our handle on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, on everything out there. So we're going to share this video and hope to try to keep people healthy. And once again, Dr. Nolan, thank you for guiding us yet again. And for you guys that are out there, do these exercises. I promise you, they will help you. So, Dr. Nolan, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you, guys.